Some people have been saying that the cozy game market is getting overcrowded. To those people, I say nay. You can never have enough cozy games, and with fall right around the corner, I think this is a pretty good time to do a cozy game roundup. So come with me into the perpetually autumn world of cozy games, and let's see if we can't find you a good time sink for the slow and cloudy months ahead. Let's get the big and obvious one out of the way right up front. Stardew Valley is probably the most well-known cozy game, and for many, the gold standard for what a cozy farming game should be, with sprawling progression, a seemingly endless to-do list, and a ton of really cool characters to attempt to befriend, or romance if that's your fancy. This game has wormed its way into the hearts of the masses since it was released in February of 2016. If you're the kind of cozy gamer that loves endlessly optimizing your output and spending hours slowly figuring out how exactly to get into the good graces of all of the NPCs that you see, this is going to be the game for you. The actual mechanics themselves are quite simple. However, the level of depth that the developer, Concerned Ape, was able to squeeze out is frankly astonishing. And the level of support that they've continued to give this game is pretty unheard of in today's gaming landscape. Relatively recently, they released the huge 1.6 update, which brought with it a ton of really great additions and changes. And they have seemingly no plans of stopping either. Their level of care and respect for their community is frankly astounding, and a huge part of the incredible value that this game holds for many. It's hard to overstate the importance of a game developer's willingness to listen to and implement community feedback. When it makes sense, of course, but that kind of thing can really help a game become more than the sum of its parts. Add to that the fact that you only need to spend around $15 for this absolute triumph of a game, and you've got an instant classic. However, this game, as with any piece of art, isn't for everyone. If you don't like grindy and kind of obscure gameplay, where you're left completely to your own devices as to whether or not you're able to come up with the exact most optimal timing for your crops, or where you have to spend thousands of gold and in-game days trying to figure out what the actual fucking hell Sean even likes, this game may not be super up your alley. And if the rural America setting doesn't quite do it for your personal preference of cozy, this, as gorgeous as the pixel art is, probably won't live up to the hype that you've been hearing about it. If that person I just described is you, though, you're in luck, because the massive commercial and critical success of this game has spawned countless Stardew likes that you have to choose from. And that brings me to our next game on this list. This is, like I said, a Stardew Valley-like. However, how it's chosen to differentiate itself from the herd is in its more fantasy setting. In Fields of Misteria, you're brought into a struggling small town which just experienced an earthquake, which caused all kinds of havoc. You're brought in and given a small plot of land, and in return, you're to help the town get itself back on its feet, doing all kinds of tasks. Now, on the surface, this is very much Stardew in fantasy clothes. However, after a few hours of playing, it becomes clear that while they certainly take a lot of elements and mechanics from Stardew, it is far more than a simple reskin. They make a lot of, in my opinion, really great and needed changes. Now, the core loop stays the same: do jobs for townsfolk, and get rewarded as you go slowly building your farm and bringing back life to this small town. However, at least for me, the town itself feels more like something that I want to spend time building, and the townsfolk feel much more personable. And I find myself being far more interested in getting invested in them than I have for the characters in Stardew. To be clear, I'm not trying to dunk on Stardew Valley. However, I do really appreciate these changes that have been made. I personally don't love the more grindy aspects of Stardew Valley, like the bag upgrade, for example. At least for me, takes forever to actually obtain in Stardew. I found gold pretty difficult to come by, and while I'm sure that's absolutely the intent, as someone who doesn't really have the time to spend grinding away at a game, I appreciate Misteria's approach of making gold far more easy to come by, and things around the world far more obtainable in a shorter period of time. And it's not just the money either. Misteria as a whole takes a far more player-friendly approach. It's simple things like giving you a jump button and the ability to swim, as well as giving you a good selection of cosmetic items right up front and letting you change up your look, name, pronouns, and farm name at any point from the menu. And giving each character a list of likes and dislikes which stays on brand for that character. Like, for example, the character that I'm romancing in this playthrough, Celine. She's a botanist with a particular interest in flowers, and so she really loves any gift that's a flower. I know it's simple, and I know a lot of people will dislike that simplicity, but I think it really helps make interacting with these characters feel far more rewarding. I found myself getting really frustrated whenever I tried to romance a character in Stardew because it seemed like unless I went on the internet and figured out exactly what they are coded to like, I had no chance of figuring it out on my own. And what they liked always seemed just kind of arbitrary. In Fields of Misteria, that ethos can be found all throughout the game. All over the place, in things like the map giving you the location of where people actually are and not just where they live. Like I said, this is the kind of thing that would make Misteria feel a bit more simple than Stardew for someone who's really in the weeds with Stardew, but for a player like me, it really just helps to make it feel less like a struggle to actually play the game. To be clear, this is one of those things that I don't think is inherently better. I think Stardew omitting these things is totally fine and completely justifiable. But for me and the way that I like to play these games, in short stints, spread kind of far apart, I really appreciate the lack of more challenging and intentionally frustrating elements like Stardew favors. It's not all good, but what few complaints I do have are pretty minor. I think the only real one would be the overall lack of complexity. Again, for me, I think it's actually a pro. However, I think for a lot of fans of the genre, this will be a bit of a negative, and possibly even a deal breaker. I think this is probably my favorite Stardew-like that I've played yet, and if you're like me and you're not really looking for all that much of a challenge and you just kind of want a chill, cozy game to while away the hours with, this is going to be perfect for you. But staying on that Stardew Valley-like train, let's take a look at. Now, Fae Farm takes a graphically much different approach to either of our previous games, dropping the pixel art for a more chibi, top-down 3D style. And like Misteria, it's set in a fantasy world with just a bit more mystical elements than either of our other two entries on the list so far. Fae Farm feels like a kind of Stardew Valley meets Animal Crossing. And a lot of that comes from the graphical style. Fields of Misteria actually has a lot more Animal Crossing-like mechanics, but the graphical style definitely makes it feel more separated from Animal Crossing. Whereas Fae Farm definitely gives me that feeling a lot more. And like Misteria, Fae Farm could pretty accurately be described as a simplified Stardew. They take a similar approach to things like farming and general quality of life elements, however, they definitely didn't resonate with me nearly as well as Misteria did. I think a lot of that comes from the lack of characterization in all of the NPCs. Not only do they not really wander around town, they kind of just serve as quest boards with faces. Sure, they have dialogue, and you could find some characterization in there if you really tried, but I think on the whole, they lack the personality that people really love about NPCs in these kind of games. And that's a shame because other than that, it's a pretty good game. The progression is satisfying and the world looks and feels pretty unique, and it certainly is fun to look at and live in. But on the whole, it feels like a much more shallow version of the source material. However, that doesn't mean you can't have fun, and I think if your favorite part about these games is walking around a cute world and seeing the sights, while also building your own little farm, this game will absolutely deliver on exactly that. I just feel that it drops the ball a bit when it comes to the actual characters you're interacting with, and for me, that's a pretty big thing to miss on. So for me, I don't think I would recommend this for most people. However, my girlfriend, who isn't really known for her love of games in general, did really like it when she played it. So it's very much possible that this is just one of those it's just not for me scenarios. But one game that most definitely didn't drop the ball when it comes to story and characterization is If you haven't heard of the smash hit that is Dave the Diver, it's a roguelike restaurant manager slash fishing game where you play as the titular Dave in his quest to help improve a small sushi restaurant located on a magical cove. Throughout the course of the game, things get way more interesting and you build relationships with all sorts of people and do all kinds of tasks for them. Now, this game is actually pretty story-focused, so I won't be giving you the details about what happens, but as far as the vibes, there aren't many that can hit as well as Dave the Diver. It's not exactly what I would call autumnal, but there's just something so calming and cozy about diving deep into the ocean and seeing all the creatures swimming around you. This game is going to be for anyone who really loves smooth and satisfying mechanics and interesting scripted story progression. It's not an RPG, you don't really have any dialogue choices, and you just follow along on Dave's journey through this world and meet all the interesting characters that Dave comes in contact with. This game strangely has a kind of similar feel to something like Coffee Talk in terms of vibes, and I think that's because it's all about going about your daily tasks at your job, but still having a good time and enjoying the journey that you're on instead of constantly gunning for some kind of forward progression. If you're looking for a game that feels comfy and chill, but still has a certain level of challenge, progression, and satisfying and incredibly fun to master mechanics, Dave the Diver is going to be perfect for you. This is the kind of game I can spend actual hours in and not even realize how much time has passed. Now, I do want to say, for all the women in the audience, if you're turned off by any of the more unsavory aspects of anime culture, there is a non-zero amount of that here. I personally don't think it's gratuitous, and I don't think it's enough to make the game bad, but this was made by a South Korean studio, and with that comes, at times, a not so nuanced take on women and their role in the story. Specifically, what I'm referring to is the gunsmith's obsession with his collection of Sailor Moon-esque statuettes, and while non-explicit, the cutscenes that play when you upgrade your spear gun may be a bit less savory for some of you out there. Again, to be clear, I don't think it's really a huge issue, and I think there is an argument that could be made that the game is criticizing the gunsmith's obsession, but I just figured I should probably include that here because I do think it's not exactly something everybody's going to find universally entertaining. But with that said, I think Dave the Diver is such a great time and perfect for sitting down on a slow, rainy day and just swimming around the vast cove and finding new fish and artifacts and upgrades. It's all just so masterfully crafted. The devs very clearly take their mission statement to make games fun and not simply follow industry trends very seriously. I think this is another great example of how you can take the conventions and mechanics of gacha and live service games and twist them to work for you and your players, and not just the bottom line. The amount of free updates and IP crossovers in the form of free DLC that Dave the Diver has gotten since its release shows that these devs are being given the leeway to make a great game the way that they see fit. And I hope we see more games like this in the industry, because it's a really great example of how your game doesn't actually need to be this stripped apart husk of a game just to be financially successful. You can, in fact, make a game that's good and successful while still treating your users like people and not just walking money bags. Regardless of any of that though, I think Dave the Diver makes for a really great, cozy, and chill time for a wide range of different gamers, and I cannot recommend it high enough. So now on to our last game. Have you ever seen a city builder like City Skylines and wished you could play it, but thought, damn, that looks way too complicated for me, and then just move on? Well, Minami Lane is for you. It's a chill, extremely simplified street builder where you're given short missions to improve different aspects of this little street that you're building. It's extremely simple. There really are only a few different dials to turn, and the ways that they affect the actual street is pretty straightforward. You have the ability to pick from a couple of different buildings, all of which affect the satisfaction of the residents on your street. You can customize the appearance of the buildings that you place and choose which buildings may serve your citizens best. The first kind of tutorial mission sees you building a ramen shop, park, and boba store, and over the course of a couple turns, figure out the right balance between recipe and price to make your inhabitants happy. You can click on anyone and see what they're thinking, and after visiting your shop, they'll tell you what they think of a specific aspect of it. For instance, they'll say something like, I wish there were more eggs in the ramen, or I want more noodles in my ramen. And you can take that information into the next round and edit your ramen recipe to reflect your citizens' collective taste. The ultimate goal with any of these missions is to create a certain level of citizen happiness, profitability, and usually some kind of population count. All of which are achieved by building different buildings on your street. It's really not a super intense game, it's extremely simple and easy to get the hang of. Now, if I'm honest, I don't love management games in general, and that is still the case with this one. I don't feel really connected with all the people on my street. While they are all cute and it's kind of fun to watch them all walk around the street, they ultimately just wind up feeling like numbers to me. I kind of wish they had a bit more personality to them, though I understand with the impermanent nature of these streets, it makes sense that would be a kind of hard thing to make work. However, I do think more unique clothes and faces could help a lot in that regard, and maybe even some actual customization of the people themselves. But that's just me personally, and even despite that, I did have fun in this game. It definitely helped me see what it is that people like about these kinds of city management games. I can totally understand how fun it must be to go in and tweak a whole bunch of things and watch them all play out as you planned. And as a cozy game, it absolutely succeeds. The vibes are impeccable, and it really is fun to see your street expand and gain a bit more personality. I do wish you could do a bit more layout than just a simple line, but as it's just a small dev team, I understand that may be beyond the scope. Even as is, this is a really great time, and I think they definitely succeeded in making a cozy, approachable city builder light. And this is a game I could see certain gamers absolutely falling in love with. And I think you'll know if that's you, just from the gameplay that I've been showing. Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching to this point. I hope you found a game that seems up your alley for this fall, and if you did, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to talk all things cozy gaming with you. But other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and all of that. Now, I hope you have a great day, and as always, happy gaming.